In the first two sections of the novel Pride and Prejudice, Elizabeth Bennet, our heroine, has two marriage proposals. Because this is a novel about marriage, it is worthwhile to reflect on the nature of these proposals and why they were unsuccessful. First, in Volume 1, Chapter 19, Mr. Collins proposes to Elizabeth. Readers will recognize that Mr. Collins' proposal is both pompous and pretentious when he begins by enumerating his reasons for marrying. First, that I think it a right thing for every clergyman in easy circumstances like myself to set the example of matrimony in his parish. Second, that I am convinced it will add very greatly to my happiness. And thirdly, which perhaps I ought to have mentioned earlier, that it is the particular advice and recommendation of the very noble lady whom I have the honor of calling patroness. Mr. Collins' proposal is notable for its focus on Mr. Collins himself. As a clergyman, he ought to marry. Marriage will enhance his happiness, and moreover, he has been advised to marry. It is also notable for what it leaves out, any references to Elizabeth's happiness or how the two are compatible. Moreover, Mr. Collins proceeds to be tactless and tasteless when he points out Elizabeth's lack of options in life. To fortune I am perfectly indifferent and shall make no demand of that nature on your father, since I am well aware that it could not be complied with. In other words, Mr. Collins will marry Elizabeth even though she has no money to bring to the match. In contrast, Elizabeth's refusal is straightforward and honest. She does not mince words. She clarifies she values happiness in a marriage above all else when she states, "You could not make me happy, and I am convinced I am the last woman in the world who could make you so." When Mr. Darcy proposes to Elizabeth in Volume 2, Chapter 11, he does so with true feelings for our heroine, but also with true pride in himself. We know this because the narrator tells us, he concluded with representing to her the strength of that attachment which, in spite of all his endeavors, he had found impossible to conquer, and with expressing his hope that it would now be rewarded by her acceptance of his hand. As he said this, she could easily see that he had no doubt of a favorable answer. He spoke with apprehension and anxiety, but his countenance expressed real security. Like Mr. Collins' proposal, this proposal is notable for the confidence of its speaker. Like Mr. Collins, Mr. Darcy does not expect to be refused. Both men felt they were in a better position, with more social status and income, than the woman to whom they proposed. Elizabeth's refusal is again straightforward and honest. Why, with so evident a design of offending and insulting me, you chose to tell me that you liked me against your will, against your reason, and even against your character? Like Mr. Collins, at this point in the novel, Elizabeth does not love nor respect Mr. Darcy, whom she suspects of keeping Jane and Bingley apart. She makes this clear when she says, "Do you think that any consideration would tempt me to accept the man who has been the means of ruining, perhaps forever, the happiness of a most beloved sister?" Both marriage proposals and refusals allow readers to see that Elizabeth is a woman of honesty who values her own self-respect and happiness. She will not marry a man she does not love and admire. We also see that Elizabeth, unlike her friend Charlotte, will not marry to secure wealth and position, not to become a clergyman's wife, nor to become the lady of an estate. Keep reading Pride and Prejudice to discover whether Elizabeth Bennet finds a man worthy of her hand in marriage.